welcome to the not so frozen Washington, D.C. area class on Mishnah and Berurah. And on today's class, we're going to focus on Siman Sadi Daled 94. We're focusing our attention to the land of Israel, Eretz Yisrael, and we're going to talk about how to connect the tefillos correctly and accurately, so that we are having proper intention while saying them. Okay, so we talked about previously what it meant to not be distracted. We talked about not standing on things that could be distracting. So now we're going to talk about engaging in prayer. We learned also not to be distracted by even halacha, unless it's a simple halacha. Now we're saying, where am I aiming myself? Okay, in order to get proper focus. But all prayers were always directed towards the temple and the temple mount itself. So we say over here in the first halacha, so this is 94, which is that one must intend themselves or incline themselves towards the land of Israel. It also includes laws on riding and sitting on a boat. Okay, nine different points of halacha. So when one stands to pray, if they are standing in land outside of Israel, they should turn their face towards Israel. And they should also intend or incline themselves to face towards Yerushalayim. And that should also be towards the side of the temple, the Mikdash, and especially to the house that held the Holy of Holies. If one stands in Israel themselves, they should turn their face towards Jerusalem and also towards the place of the sanctuary and to the site of the Holy of Holies. If you're standing in Jerusalem, you should also incline yourself to face towards the Temple Mount and to the site of the Holy of Holies. If you are standing in Jerusalem and you turn your face towards and you're turning towards the place of the spot of the Mikdash, and you're also intending towards the holy site, okay, and you are actually very much inside of it, okay, if you were inside of it, like you were the Kohen yourself, and you were praying, you have to turn your face towards the actual curtain where the ark was hanging. So you got a lot going on in there. Okay, and if you're standing behind the ark, also would be that case as well. So you want to make sure you turn towards the Kodesh HaKodashim, especially if you were inside of the Heichal itself, the site of the Holy of Holies. This spot nowadays is currently taken and occupied by the Dome of the Rock. However, that is the spot of the temple. The Mishnah explains, outside the land of Israel, which means that when you are standing in Chutz La'aretz, to the east of Israel, you should turn your face west, okay? And that faces you towards Israel. And when you are in the west, like we are in our countries, okay, in Europe, the person should turn their face east. And so too in all directions. Okay, and so too is the explanation of what we will write later on, that when you're standing in Israel, you should turn your face, and so on. If someone's standing in Jerusalem, they should turn to face that way. So that's the idea, is always turning to face the land of Israel. And the next thing he says, what does it mean to turn facing Eretz Yisrael? Because there's a verse that says, and I pray to you towards the way of our land. Okay? And then we see that you should incline yourself in that direction, not only towards Israel, also towards Jerusalem, which is to say, a person should turn their heart, even though he can't actually turn himself to face towards Jerusalem. And that's to say that a person should consider in their heart and have a desire to be like one who stands in the temple himself, that's in Jerusalem, in the the place of the Holy of Holies. What's the source? The Mishnah brings down to face towards Jerusalem, because the verse says you should pray towards the place that Hashem has picked and to the city that He has chosen. We also say that your face should be facing towards the temple, and because we see in another place that says you shall pray towards this holy place. Okay, and so towards the end of the halacha, it says that you're standing behind or on the other side, the opposite side of the curtain that separates between the Kodesh and the Kodesh HaKodashim, between the Holy and the Holy of Holies. You're standing on the western side of the Beis HaMikdash, like where the western wall is. Your face should be facing towards where the spot of where the curtain was, because it says you shall pray towards this place, and you should consider yourself as if you are standing before the Holy of Holies, facing the curtain that separates. Okay, so a lot of psukim in and out Tehillim and so on that say these things. Second halacha: if you are praying in a direction of all other directions, okay, you should turn your face to Eretz Yisrael. If you are standing outside the land of Israel and Jerusalem. If you are in Israel and you want towards the temple site, if you're in Jerusalem. Okay? So if the facing of the place if the facing of the building that you are in doesn't face east when you are in the west of Israel, okay, and vice versa, you should turn your face towards that. If you are in Israel, you should face to Jerusalem, and if you're in the temple itself, if you're in Jerusalem, you should turn your face towards the temple. The Ramah says, and our faces always go east, because we are not exactly. We are exactly east we are west of Israel itself, so we have ourselves facing east, and therefore our faces are towards Israel. The Ramah then continues: you should not set up the place of the Aron, of the site to hold the Torah scrolls, and the place of where the prayer is to face a rising sun. Okay, because this looks like something that the ancient apostates used to do. So you should try to aim the Aron and the way people are facing to kind of go towards where midday would be. Okay, and someone who wishes to fulfill the statement that one who looks to be rich should aim north, or if one wishes to be smart, aim south, nonetheless, that means turning your face to the east. So your prayer direction, your body is going to face north or south, but your face should be east. So you kind of are twisted like that. Okay? So let's look at the explanation of this. Mishnah Berurah explains that if you are praying in any other direction, okay, so you're not standing directly east. So you want to do this. He says that it's talking about you want to do this thing where south makes you smart and north makes you rich. So the rabbis explained that your body faces, but that you're almost basically riding on a donkey, or riding on, actually it says the chamor. The chamor is not actually a donkey, it's too small. There you have the African wild ass, the Asiatic one, which are a little bit more sturdy. They can hold a little bit more, better pack animal than the tiny donkeys. And this person who's riding in these cases couldn't actually turn to face that direction. Okay, so nonetheless, a person should turn their face as best they could, because as we said, always turn your face towards the land of Israel. And so us, where we always are facing east, the Mishnah Berurah explains that you always want to have the building with an eastern wall, and that's where we put the container for the Sifrei Torah. is in the eastern wall of the building. And if that doesn't work out for whatever reason, then you should put the Sifrei Torah on the southern wall. And nonetheless, it should not be west, so that way it looks like everyone's praying away from where the actual temple and Holy of Holies stood. Even if you did put it in another one, you would still have to turn yourself to face east. And then we say that your face should always go east if you're in another direction. If you are standing on the north side, okay, or the south side, and you realize that you can't move your feet to turn east, so you should just turn your face east. And that suffices even if you are praying with other people in the room who themselves are praying towards the east. And if you can't do that, or if you're facing completely west, then you should have in mind that you should be praying in front of the Holy of Holies, but not pick up your feet at all. However, if you're praying in shul, where it's quite disturbing to see you praying in the wrong direction, the Prima Gadim says that you can turn yourself in the same direction as the rest of the community. And this is also brought down in other places. So some people have the custom to put the Aron for the Torahs on the southern wall of the shul, even though it's not the best place to put it. Okay, and that's what we said before. So nonetheless, if you're coming to daven there, you should face the same direction as the rest of the community while turning your face eastward. Okay, and then we said the restriction that it shouldn't be 100% boom where the sun rises up on that eastern wall, rather opposite the midday. So it's not to say that it's literally midday. What it's really trying to say is that it's kind of in a spot where about 1/2 to 1 full hour after the sun comes up, you look at this and you say that it's, if you're in like the middle of spring or at the point of fall, or in one of the weeks of the year, okay, or one of the weeks of the year that's right before Nisan or Tishrei, when the sun kind of goes at its most equilibrium point. So those are the best times to figure out how to angle the eastern wall of your shul. Okay, and the poskim thought about this, and they all agree that in our countries the custom is we are not totally in the west of Israel, so we should actually, since often many of those countries in Europe are actually north of Israel, you should actually have the wall of the synagogue aim southeast. Okay, so that way it's actually aiming in the direction of Israel. Okay, and that's aiming not only to Israel but also the Beis HaMikdash and the Holy of Holies. And every other country, based on where it's located, should always aim for that, based on wherever they are located. So some people defend this custom, but it sounds like it's more important, to follow the first approach we just mentioned and aim the wall towards Israel. And if you find that if you put the wall east and your face goes southeast, that seems to be another solution. However, if you find yourself aiming yourself towards the south, that sounds like it's an inappropriate thing to do, because then it looks like you're turning your back on the rest of the congregation, and also not looking directly towards Yerushalayim. So, if you're in a shul where they aim the wall exactly east, you should pray in that direction, and then you can kind of aim yourself in the direction of Eretz Yisrael towards the south. And that's why, according to this custom, when they put the seats for the local rav, he was always sitting on the right hand side on the eastern wall of the place of the Sefer Torah, so that way, when he turned around, he would be facing properly in that direction. So we bring it out into the halacha that you should should we face the ark if we are unsure of the directions? Yes, that's basically what we're trying to say is face that direction of where the ark is. Correct. You should aim your face in the direction of Israel. Rashi explains the opposite, is that you should stand in the east and then turn your face in the other direction. So that seems to be our custom like that, not like the Shulchan Aruch and the Ramah bring down. And that way you shouldn't be facing your body differently than the rest of the congregation. So if you have the wall on the southeast side, then you don't have to do that because you're already facing south and you're also facing east. Okay. Now, halacha 3 over here. Someone who cannot figure out what direction he's facing should just turn his heart towards his Father in heaven. Simple halacha. Number 4. If you are riding on an animal, okay, you do not need to get down from the animal. And you can pray while you're up there. That's even if somebody can stand and hold on to your animal. Rather, you should pray the direction in the direction in which you were traveling. And so too, if you're on a boat, or if you're on some type of wagon, okay, and standing up is not an option. If you can stand, stand, and if not, sit in your place, and then engage in your prayers. Or if he's traveling by foot, that he should pray in the direction in which he's walking, even if that direction is not facing towards Jerusalem. Okay? Even if there's no immediate danger in this journey. Rather, you're just stopping for a minute to engage in prayer. And if you're stuck facing the wrong way, you should try to get your eyes to face towards Jerusalem. Okay, and then face your heart, and then turn your heart towards that. And if it's not possible to focus on that, you try to do the best you can based on the direction you're traveling, and based on the place where you are stopping, and based on your concern for where you're from what you're experiencing, and what you can do to assuage your thoughts about being where you are. Okay, and some people are strict to stand for the first 3 blessings known as avos. And we believe that that's appropriate if it's not in a dangerous place. Okay. So the first thing the Shulchan Aruch there deals with is you continue davening on the animal in the way in which you are traveling. Why? Because stopping on the path is difficult, and if you're not sure what's going on, you might make your journey that much more difficult. Okay. So if you can stand or stop, so which is to say that. If you can, which is not to sit but stand on your legs, on your feet. But nonetheless, the boat continues to travel, okay, and the wagon continues to travel. So you're standing while the thing travels, okay. And also, you should try to turn your face towards Israel as well. But one of the considerations is what effect this has on your experience, your yishuv hadas, what anxiety you encounter. If you are in front of the caravan and you're waiting for them and someone can hold your animal, get down and pray. And so too, if you're walking on your feet, stand where you are and say the prayers, okay? And that's not going to cause you to lose focus on continuing forward. As I can say, it won't steer you. Well, stimmt nicht. It doesn't distract or keep you away from being with the rest of the group. And should certainly stand for the first three blessings known as avos, because in those blessings you need to really be focused, because those are the ones that if you screw them up, it ruins the whole prayer service. And we'll learn that in Siman Kuf Aleph later on. And walking is not considered losing your focus on these things. And so too with riding on an animal, it's best that you can stop it and listen and focus on listening to yourself say the blessing of avos. Okay. However, you don't have to get. We just said we don't have to get off of it, so you got to stop the focus, but you don't have to get off the animal. Halacha 5. If you are on the boat or the wagon, and you can stand when the bowing is being done, so that way you yourself can do the bowing, that's fine. And also, so too with stepping the 3 steps. The Ramah adds, even if you are sitting for the entire prayer service, nonetheless, if you can stand at certain points to get those things in, that's great. Okay, it's great to get in the bowing and the steps back. And if it's not possible, such as you're riding on an animal and you're trying to take the animal back 3 steps, right? And you want to get onto them, okay? It's different between you taking them back 3 steps and the animal going back 3 steps. So you can try to guide the animal back, okay? And if that's not good, then leave it alone. Okay, so you say you should stand for the whole prayer. Okay, we can't stand for the whole prayer because it's scary. And if so, I would have thought that even in a place where I have to bow as well, that should be even more scary. We say that, and we say that that's not the case. However, it's the same thing when you're walking on your feet and you're concerned about stopping. But you should stop, say the first 3 blessings, and do the bowing, and take your 3 steps back. Okay, and then we also say, for example, if you can't get off the animal, make your animal go backwards 3 steps. Okay, or make yourself go back 3 steps on top of your animal. Okay, scoochie, scoochie, scoochie. All right, and see about that working out that way. Halacha 6: a sick person who prays, if he's laying on his side, it suffices, and that's assuming he's able to get his intentions to focus on his prayer. And if he can't do that, the Ramah adds, nonetheless he should say it in his heart, because we bring the pasuk that you should say it in your heart even on your beds. So sick, what does this mean? So the Mishnah adds, it's sick, and even an older person that can't stand for a long time can sit and say the prayer. And if he could stand in one place and it's hard for him to bow, then he should skip the bowing. But if he can do it while standing, it's even better. Okay, we said laying on your side and recite the prayer to yourself inside of your, sort of like internally. And some people hold that this fulfills your obligation, although it's not optimal. And you don't have to pray again if you feel better. Okay. So if you got sick, in the morning and you say this, and then in the afternoon comes, you say mincha, but then you feel better, like you could stand, then we say that you don't have to go back and say it again. And we learned earlier in Siman Samach Bes, there's Berurah over there regarding reciting the blessings of Shema and the Shema itself. And if you can't focus yourself to recite the tefillah and the Kriya Shema, it's much easier to do that than it is for Shemona Esrei. But nonetheless, we were lenient in those cases. Okay, halacha 7. So if you encounter non-Jews who appear to be dangerous on your journey, and you're concerned that they're going to interrupt your prayer, okay, or they're going to steal your stuff or ruin your stuff, then you should stay in one place and pray, because because your mind won't really be at rest if you think they're going to come and accost you. And even though you need to take your 3 steps back at the end, nonetheless, you can still stay in one place away from them and do your prayers and your bows. Halacha 8. Person should be careful not to lean on things while standing to pray, and also not to lean on his friend while praying. Okay? What does that mean, not to lean on somebody? So the Mishnah explains. Because you need to actually be standing. And we learn this later on in Siman 98. And standing while leaning is not considered standing. And therefore, based on this, even a little bit of leaning is not appropriate. Okay? Which means that you're leaning up against something even a little bit. And leaning means that if I were to take the thing away, you would fall over. However, there's some say the reason is that you have to be standing with utter contriteness and fear and awe, and therefore every type of leaning is inappropriate, even if just a slight lean and you could still balance afterwards. Okay, and in a great need situation, you can be lenient for the first reason that we said. Okay, and therefore that's why you also shouldn't lean on the stender in front of you either, on a lectern. And anything else, when we say the stand, you shouldn't be leaning on things. Okay, like for example, when you're standing to look at the Sefer Torah, don't lean on the stender like this, or lean into the table, or lean on the chair. Okay. However, you can be lenient if you're sick and you can stand through leaning. Okay, last halacha on this page. Someone who needs to pray while sitting. Okay. So when he's able to, he has to go pray standing. Okay? He doesn't have to add anything more to the prayers. All right, so we're going to learn in a minute is that if you started off with sitting and then you find that you're able now to stand, but you don't have to go back and fill things in. But Ramah adds that if you're traveling and you're close to a hotel, if you can go ahead and stop off at that hotel and people are not going to bother you along the way, okay, then you should slide over to the hotel and pray there, but you shouldn't do that at the hotel of a non-Jew, because they might come in and annoy you when you come there to pray. But if you are unable to get away from anything without going to this hotel, then you can go find some corner to go pray in. Okay, so the best thing is try to make sure people don't interrupt you. So he said that sitting down, okay, or if you're continuing to walk and then you find that you're able to stop in one place, okay, and it also means that the time you have left is plenty of time in order to complete the prayers. What about someone leaning on the bima middle of Shacharit service, doing his own learning? Do we lean on the... Why does it always quit on me for him? They always lean on the bima at all during prayers. So you shouldn't lean your body weight. You can put your hands on it, but your body weight shouldn't be going into it. So that's the idea of not leaning into anything. For laning, the Torah laning, the only person that's actually stand is the person doing the actual reading himself. Everybody else technically could sit. So the only people who have to make sure they're standing and not leaning in those cases are the people reading from it, the person who said the bracha on it. Okay. Now you don't have to repeat certain things, which is to say that it's not like you started praying as something that wasn't for an obligation and then decided to come back and do it for a full obligation, which we learn later on in Siman 107 that you have to add new things into it. We agree that you don't have to go ahead and start the prayer service over again. Okay, and so therefore it's not considered a voluntary prayer, it's considered a full-fledged prayer. And so too is the custom that people who are traveling, that they just They say their prayer while they are traveling, in whatever method they are traveling. Okay, even if they prayed while they were traveling and they come and they can stop, now they don't have to repeat the prayers. Nonetheless, if a person wants to go ahead and do that, they can do it voluntarily as long as they are able to do so appropriately and can add something new into their prayer service. They don't have to add anything new as long as they know that it is a voluntary prayer service. Okay. So when you come out of the road and you can stop off at the hotel, you want to pray now in a corner. So you can go ahead to some area off in the corner and pray there. And we said that there's a concern in the hotel of non-Jews because there they often have their own statues there as well, and so therefore you shouldn't even go into those places to say anything that is holy for Hashem. Okay, because Moshe Rabbeinu said that he left from the entire city and didn't want to pray in Mitzrayim because it was full of idols. Okay, and also the people there will annoy you, which is to say, so even though you're in some corner somewhere and want to be left alone, they might come over there and start to annoy you and figure out how they can help you out and how to wait for the room, blah, blah, blah. Okay. But in some cases where, there's not statues around, the only concern is they might annoy you, they just try to find a quiet place. Okay. And if a person finds an eastern-facing wall and they have some type of inappropriate picture or statue there, you shouldn't pray on that side, only to the side where it doesn't have any of these pictures or statues. And let's see. And so if you can pray somewhere which is off the beaten path, and it's and you can go kind of to not the main room, but to sort of a smaller room, or into the garden, that's preferable, where you can be reciting prayers and not be distracted. Something else I would add to this is I would say that honestly you can also pretend to not be to be engaged in something. People won't bother you. So what you can do is kind of pretend to be on your cell phone. I sometimes have done it where you kind of take your cell phone and you hold it up to your ear like this to pretend that you're listening to messages, and that will often be a good suggestion to keep people from bothering you. But definitely if there's pictures up on the wall, or sometimes you're in hotels, and sometimes you're in especially hospitals where they have religious articles up on the wall, you should pray away from those things, or at least obstruct them so you can pray somewhere in the room. Thank you for joining today. We will get ready to join us next time when we will delve deeper into the laws of prayer. Next time's class is going to be 95, which is how to conduct and comport your body appropriately. We shall continue then. Until next time, have a wonderful day.